Good morning. Happy hump day. I am Manila Chan. That over there is Ted Rall. You are tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, or just TMI Show for short. And we do, in fact, bring you too much information. And we do bring a lot of cursing, which is sometimes called for, Ted. I mean, they're just...
today in particular.
Well, sometimes there are just no better words than curse words, especially the F-bomb, because who doesn't want to hear that at 10 a.m.?
Oh.
We are live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, guys, so please be sure to like and follow the show wherever you are consuming this content. If you're streaming it on YouTube, hit the big red subscribe button. That really helps with the thumbs up. That really helps the algorithms. If you're streaming us on Rumble, hit that follow button and the thumbs up. Same thing there. And the subscribe button is all the way down at the bottom during the live feed.
Lower right. Lower right.
Way down at the bottom of the chat where it's like almost invisible.
Yeah. And
you can help us there financially if you are in that position to do so. Every little bit helps and we greatly appreciate it. So today we are going to be talking about Trump's huge speech. The hugest. It really was the hugest.
Yeah.
Ted.
Oh my God. It was so long.
I couldn't stay awake for the whole thing because, you know, I'm on a little kid's time schedule. So I had to take the kiddo to bed and I tried to sneak out and watch some more and I just couldn't stay awake. But we'll be talking about that on the back half of the show. Front half of the show, let's jump into some headlines before we bring in our guest on the back half at 10:30 in about 25 minutes or
Jamarl
so.
Thomas will be joining us.
Jamarl Thomas. We're going to do a Sputnik reunion, kind of mini reunion. Because, I mean, we're going to have fun with Trump's hugest speech. The longest speech of any modern American president, Ted, almost 2 hours.
It was the longest, and it felt longer than that.
My son is graduating college now, Ted. Did I tell you? That's how.
Next time Trump gives a speech, he will have gotten out of grad school.
Oh yeah, I think so. It was the longest speech ever. So with that, let's hop to headlines.
Let's do it. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky proposed a new framework for a partial ceasefire with Russia, posting on social that Kyiv would be willing to release prisoners and agree to a truce that would ban long-range attacks on civilian and energy infrastructure. Zelensky acknowledged that the meeting last Friday between him and Trump was regrettable. It's time to make things right. We would like future cooperation and communication to be constructive, he wrote. His offer came after Trump's decision to stop aid to Ukraine sent shockwaves across Ukraine, obviously, as well as Europe, stoking concerns about how Kyiv might be weakened on the battlefield and fueling some calls for the Euros to step up to fill any gaps. The idea for a partial ceasefire was floated by the French. They suggested a potential 1-month truce in the air, at sea, and on energy infrastructure, which could be better monitored than ground fighting along the lengthy front line. If the ceasefire holds, a truce could be paired with negotiations on security guarantees and other issues, followed by a potential European troop deployment in the event of a settlement. I don't believe in the European troop deployment at all, Manila. I think that's not going to happen. I think that's a red line for Vladimir Putin. He doesn't want, I think he would only allow European troops to serve as peacekeepers or ceasefire
Sure.
monitors if it's very clear that they sign an agreement that they are not there as under any kind of auspices of NATO. Therefore, there's no possibility of triggering an Article 5 explosion that could drag all of Europe into World War III. I think, and I don't know that the Europeans would agree to that to that Russian demand. So I think that if there are peacekeepers or ceasefire monitors, they're going to have to be provided by the UN. White helmets would be the standard approach to do this.
Yeah, it would have to be a neutral party, completely uninvested, I should say, in what's happening in Ukraine. Do you have gibbons in the background there?
No, you know what? I'm glad you can hear them. I have a giant flock of blue jays right outside my window.
It's like I hear screeching of some sort. I was thinking, well, it's new. The animals have gotten loose from the zoo before.
Oh, well, so you could see that in Congress last night. But like I get blue jays. It's really weird. Huh. I live pretty close to a park. And so there's a surprising number of birds in my backyard here. During the pandemic, it was crazy. I mean,
if I can hear it, the audience can hear it for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, look, I think this thing from Volodymyr Zelensky, this, tail tucking, happened pretty quickly because I think Zelensky knows full well that the Europeans being like, yes, brother, we have your back. He's like, I don't really believe that. I don't trust that. And so he came tail tucked, head down, and came back to try to kiss the ring. However, even though Trump acknowledged this in the speech last night, I mean, way late, like it was almost 11 o'clock before he acknowledged anything about Ukraine. I think it's a day late, a buck short. And then today we're getting that breaking news, as you pointed out, that the U.S. is stopping intelligence sharing with Ukraine.
I won't make any jokes about how we don't have much intelligence to share.
We can't. That's true. Evidenced by last night. So I don't think I don't think all the fences have been mended. Let's just say that. Even though Trump said that a deal is back on the table, it's in the offing, it could happen as soon as today. I don't know if we're going to see Zelensky show back up here in Washington, D.C. or what's happening. But I think for Zelensky's side here, the fact that he came tucking tail to Donald Trump so quickly shows that he doesn't have a lot of confidence in his supposed European allies. And it shows how dependent he actually is on Donald Trump. And so I don't know if he's coming correct and he's got his mouth in line, but I hope that doesn't change Donald Trump's position on bringing this war to a close. Period. I don't care how they get there. I just want the bloodshed to end. I don't want war anywhere, right? Whether it's Gaza, whether it's Ukraine, I don't want to see war anywhere. And I think this turd right here has outlived his usefulness, I think, to the Trump administration. And he kind of knows it now, I think. I think he's seeing it. So I don't know if he has a lot of places to turn. I think we're kind of at the end of the road. Cue the Boys to Men song.
Not that I could sing one. All right. A Hong Kong-based company announced that it will sell its stake in 2 ports on the Panama Canal to an American-led consortium, apparently in reaction to Trump's threats over what he used to call Chinese influence at the Panama Canal.
China.
China. Panama's president has insisted that he has no intention of returning the canal to the U.S. He says that China doesn't run the waterway. It's actually run and managed by the Panama Canal Authority, which is an independent Panamanian government agency. The Hong Kong-based firm in question, C.K. Hutchinson, had held 90% control of the Panama Ports Co.
That doesn't sound very Chinese, Ted.
No, it sounds very British, which owns and operates the ports of Balboa and Cristobal on the opposite ends of the canal. Companies from the U.S., Taiwan, and Singapore operate other ports at the canal. The Hong Kong company's port operations involved loading and unloading cargo and providing fuel. C.K. Hutchinson said the proposed sale was part of a bigger deal in which the consortium, led by New York-based BlackRock, will also acquire an 80% interest in its units that owned, operated, and developed 43 other ports in 23 countries, with a total value transaction of $23 billion.
BlackRock. How about that, Ted? We're going to see more of BlackRock once these Ukraine minerals deals are done. It's going to be BlackRock all over Ukraine.
Yeah, they're the Halliburton of our era.
It's true. It's true. And yeah, I guess you're right. C.K. Hutchison does sound very British. And didn't the British only return Hong Kong to China like in 1997? That
sounds right. Yeah.
Somewhere around the new millennium.
Right. No, I think that's exactly right.
Yeah. So is it really Chinese owned if it's British owned by Hong Kong? I don't know. Look, this same thing happened last night, again mentioned in Trump's speech, which we'll go over with JT when he hops on, is that Trump bullying, I guess, is working, whether we want to agree with that, like it or not. I think it's happening. It's working. But this Hutchison company,
which was, by the way, founded in 1950, when obviously Hong Kong was still a British colony.
Right. So yeah, that would make sense. So it's, technically British roots, but now that it's going to go to BlackRock, Trump mentioned the Panama Canal last night in his speech and pointed to Marco Rubio. The camera goes to Marco Rubio, and then still says that we're going to take it all back. So I don't know what it is that he wants. If BlackRock has already agreed to this deal, he knew it going in. It wasn't like this deal happened without Trump's blessing, right? So Trump went into the speech last night knowing this deal was going to get signed. So why push even further and just try to alienate the Panamanians? Like, it just, I don't know. But again, he's getting rewarded by, bullying and getting what he wants. Oh, look, there's the Diet Coke button. See that red button? There's the Diet Coke button.
I hope he doesn't accidentally start World War III when he hits that button.
Right. I hope that's the Diet Coke button and not the nuclear button, but you never know. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a dumb thing to do, is like, why do you want to go toe to toe with what have the Panamanians done? Right? It's not their fault that Jimmy Carter sold it back to them for $1. Right? But Trump is saying because the project took the lives of some 38 million.
The Panamanians were agitating for it. I mean, it's more their fault than anyone else's fault.
Yeah, and then Jimmy Carter was like, "Hey, here, you can have it for $1. I'll sell it to you. Buy it for $1. We'll call it a day."
Yeah, and Jimmy Carter was responding to the criticism that it was a colonial relic and we shouldn't still own it.
So I don't know. I'm kind of not hot on.
Plus, I resent the Panama Canal Zone because it gave us John McCain, the worst person in the world. So
wait, how did the Panama Canal give us?
He was born there.
What?
Yeah.
I thought he was born in Arizona.
No, a lot of people were wondering whether he was even eligible to serve as president because he was born in the Canal Zone.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Why was he there? I mean, why were?
I guess probably his father was serving there. His father, remember, became an admiral, so he was a big muckety muck in the Navy. So I imagine he was stationed down there.
What a strange. Okay, well.
So that's for that reason alone, it's not safe to own the Panama Canal Zone because otherwise the next John McCain might be born there.
Ew.
And Donald Trump, he should listen to me because he hated John McCain and John McCain hated him. So
that's true. Maybe it's something in the water there, Ted. Be careful of the water.
Could be.
Panama Canal. Just saying.
All right. Egypt held a summit in Cairo, bringing together Arab states to try to find a path forward for Gaza. The host proposed a $53 billion 5-year plan to rebuild the Palestinian enclave of Gaza, which of course has been flattened during the war. The idea was to get the Arab League countries to finance and support the plan as an alternative to Trump's idea of turning Gaza into some kind of wacko Mediterranean Riviera and forcibly ethnically cleanse Palestinians from Gaza. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said the plan was endorsed by the Arab League on Tuesday. Attendees are going to come back together for further discussion next month in Egypt. This plan calls for leaving the Palestinians in Gaza and for some kind of as yet undetermined independent Palestinian government, not Hamas, so like Bob's government and grill, to oversee Gaza during reconstruction. In the end, there would supposedly be housing for 3 million people, an airport, industrial centers, hotels, bowling alleys, I made that part up, and other major developments. But none of this can happen without a sustained ceasefire and a permanent end to conflict. Meanwhile, talks about the second phase of the ceasefire between Israel and Gaza have been halted amid disagreements. Israel now says they want more hostages released and is demanding total disarmament of Hamas. Hamas obviously is saying, go fuck yourselves. The first stage expired Saturday without a clear path forward. In the meantime, Israel has cut off the flow of aid into Gaza. Not a war crime. Oh, wait, it is. And while the enclave has supplies for now, the stoppage raises concerns about diminishing stockpiles of food and other aid in the weeks ahead. The White House responded to Egypt's proposal, saying that the plan doesn't address the fact that the enclave is uninhabitable, and says that Trump still stands by his own proposal. I'm no fan of Trump's proposal, but I will grant him that the enclave is uninhabitable. That is true.
Well, yes, obviously. I can't tell the man in this shaking hand. Is that Mahmoud Abbas?
I think that's Mahmoud Abbas.
I haven't seen him in so long because it's like he's been in hiding wherever the fuck.
Yeah.
And hasn't done anything of any sort, whether it's diplomatically or humanitarian wise, nor held elections, right, in 20 plus years.
By the way, for people who don't know who Mahmoud Abbas is, he's the head of the Palestinian Authority, which basically was the old PLO Fatah movement,
right.
Which governs the West Bank. Used to also govern Hamas, but then there was a power struggle. Gaza. But then there was a power struggle, and there was an election, but then there was kind of a coup, and Hamas took over in Gaza.
Yeah, well, look, he hasn't done anything for his supposedly his people. He's only maintained and retained power for 20 plus years without holding any elections because he's kind of done what Zelensky is doing, right? He's just like, oh, I'm suspending elections temporarily because we're at war, and he punts, and he punts again,
and he's a million years old.
They're always at war. He is. That's why I didn't recognize him.
And corrupt as hell. Like the Palestinian Authority is completely worthless and incapable of doing anything to support the people of the West Bank. He's basically
not victim blaming.
He's a lickspittle for the Israelis is the problem.
Yeah, this is so not victim blaming.
He's like Marshal Pétain.
I feel like he's worse than Zelensky because he's allowed this kind of torturous living situation to happen.
Grinding. He's legitimizing what the Israelis are doing. I mean, look, it's very similar, right? It is like Pétain, who was the head of the Vichy collaborationist government, the Nazi puppet state that ruled France during World War II. He always said, like, "Oh, I got to stay in. I know things suck, but it'd be even worse if I wasn't there. I'm a shield. I shield the French people from the evil Germans. I'm your go-between. I'm taking the Germans that are abusing me. They would be even harder on you." But you know who never bought any of that was the French. They were like, you suck.
You see,
although he was popular actually. Sorry.
Do you see who's pulling up there? I think that's the new flag of Syria, and that's Al Jolani, who's rebranded himself as Al Shara. Mm-hmm. That's his new leadership name. His name.
No
is
more
Al
military
Shara.
Outfit. Now he wears a suit.
That's right. Mm-hmm. He's got a suit on. He hasn't completely said, I'm not into head chopping anymore. He hasn't disavowed that, but he's showing up as part of the Syrian delegation.
I feel like you're a little bigoted about head chopping. I feel like you are a head chopophobic, and I feel like that's not very woke. I mean, a lot of people have head chopping is part of their culture.
And Donald Trump said DEI and woke era is dead. It's over. So
if there should be any part of, but I beg to differ. I mean, if there's any part of woke that, okay, maybe we can get rid of like fighting racism and misogyny, but head chopping should still be permitted and in fact encouraged. I can think of a lot of people whose heads need to be chopped off. I can provide a list.
The French did do a lot of that, Ted, in the medieval era and onward.
Are you kidding? Until the 1970s.
Until the 70s. God.
Yeah,
your people.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Holy
guillotine.
Cow.
Yeah.
I didn't know they kept that up in the modern era.
Yeah, François Mitterrand, when he became president, got rid of the death penalty. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well,
I'm anti-head. I think it was 1979 or 77 was the last guillotining of a French citizen.
Oh my God.
Under Marine Le Pen, it could come back. You never know.
Oh my God. Wow, what times we're living in. That I did not know that. I thought it was because usually the Europeans are so much more progressive in everything than Americans.
Hey, a lot of people say that the guillotine is the most painless form of execution. It's very quick. It's like, not like the way that ISIS does it. ISIS is like sort of like, they hew it off, right? It's like.
Well, no, it's hewing, like they hew it with like a freaking butter knife, right? Or some old, like nasty, grimy, rusty, like box cutter. Like that's, oh God.
Yeah, they're rolling like 9/11 hijacker style. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that this summit is going to do much because.
Well, I mean, are they kidding? I mean, first of all, there's a problem here. It's called Israel. Israel's not going to. I mean, Israel needs to get the fuck out of the way and give full statehood. The Arab League will not will not send a shekel to Gaza unless they have a guarantee that Gaza and the West Bank will be an independent Republic of Palestine, and the Israelis will never agree to it. But we know Israel will never get out of the way. So at what point does the Arab League take a more strong and firm posture against Israel and use the leverage that they can have? When the misery of the surviving population is on the cameras day after day after day after day, and it looks like fucking Ethiopia in the 1980s. That's what it's going to take.
So? I mean, I remember that in the 80s. But look, these guys we've seen it on camera day after day after day for a year and a half at this point. The Arab League is just now meeting for it. And I feel like, is this one like a Sultan of Caboose or something? Because they wear the hats? I don't know. Portly fella, huh?
Yeah, he looks like Dick Dinklage in The Station Agent.
Huh. This portly fella. Interesting. Okay. But my point is, this guy's not going to step up on Benjamin Netanyahu. El-Sisi's not going to do it. They can have all the words that they want and all the diplomacy that they want, but at the end of the day, Israel does not respond unless it's action. There's nothing actionable that happened at this summit. Nothing. It's just a bunch of ideas and being diplomatic. And look at Al-Shara / Jolani hanging out with Mahmoud Abbas. He was hugging him.
I mean, look, this is pie in the sky. It's theoretical. It's airy.
Right.
Like, it's not. Nothing's going to happen here. It's a total waste of time.
And nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens.
I'm glad for them. They all got to eat some yummy food and stay in some nice hotels and shag the local hookers in Cairo. It's all good.
They get to have their secret drinking alcohol, right?
Yep. And they're whoring.
Oh yeah. I mean, I lived in the Middle East.
You lived in Dubai. That's where that happened.
That's where I watched all these people.
I used to see that too. I mean, in Dubai, and you go to the hotel and just see like these Taliban guys, these Saudi Wahhabyists, all like
Yeah.
canoodling with like hot sluts.
I would be. Hey, I looked like one of those hot sluts when I was 27. Which
I doubt you were on the lap of one of these dish dashing dudes.
No, not that.
Yeah.
I was never that. I was almost.
Because you and I have both seen that.
Yeah, I for sure have seen that. But I remember being, I think, bewildered is my best description of seeing these men who are, dressed up like this, right, in the dish dashes, and maybe I covered a conference earlier and they were there and they're some sort of official, and then suddenly I'm at a party and they roll up in Western attire, like being like, "So, where are you from?" I'm like, "What? Like, why are you?"
You know what this is like? This is like when I flew out of Tehran. And I remember talking to my traveling companions. I was like, at the Tehran airport, right? There's no music playing. Everything, the lights are a little bit low. Everybody's whispering. Everybody's like, it's very depressing. Everyone's wearing like the chador. You can just see the eyes of the ladies just barely. And everyone's just like, it's kind of like, I was like, man, this is bleak. We get on the plane, Turkish Airways, bound for Istanbul. And it's like, the plane just takes off, right? And then the pilot comes on and goes, "This is the captain. We have now left the airspace of the Islamic Republic of Iran." Immediately, loud disco music comes on, and then like all of the chadors come off. All the chicks are wearing like bustiers, and like their boobs are hanging out, bare bellies, and they're partying. And the drink cart comes down the hall. Everybody's like, "Woo!" So
that's basically what Dubai was. It was like their secret getaway for all of these Arabian officials, right? And I've witnessed it firsthand. But when we look at it politically, like here, there should be so much more discontent coming from just Arab civilians everywhere, that these people are their leadership and nothing gets done for Gaza and nothing gets done for the West Bank, and they all show up to these fancy things like we're looking at, and they make a big to-do of it, because let me tell you, the Arabs know how to put on a nice iftar dinner, because remember, Ramadan has started. But then ultimately they don't do anything to Israel. They don't take a real step up on Israel. They won't roll up on Netanyahu. It's not going to happen. So they even though collectively surround Israel, have leverage, and can force something actionable. They can force it, but they won't. They never do. They have failed for 40 years to ever do anything for the Palestinian people. So I see this and I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. They had a big iftar dinner for Ramadan with all of the boys, including the newly rebranded head chopper in Syria.
All right, let's keep going here. De-extinction company Colossal Biosciences genetically engineered a shaggy light brown mouse with fat deposits as part of its effort to revive the extinct woolly mammoth. I would say size-wise, they have a ways to go. The experiment, published in a paper not yet peer-reviewed, shows the company's ability to edit multiple genes in an attempt to achieve a single expressed trait, in this case, cold tolerance. Further tests will demonstrate whether the changes are effective in colder climates. In other words, presumably, they will put the chubby mouse in a cold place. Scientists focused on mouse genes related to hair expressions with links to the mammoth's genome. Each mouse received different combinations of edits, but some got up to 8 genes edited using 3 distinct techniques. Most of them, in most cases, the gene was edited to shut off its typical expression, like the hair-regulating gene FGF5. Who can forget fibroblast growth factor 5, which showed the fur to grow long, allowed the fur to grow long. In other words, this gene prevents your fur from growing too long. Colossal, currently a $10 billion company, was founded 4 years ago by entrepreneur Ben Lamb and the geneticist George Church, to develop a method to recreate extinct species, including the mammoth, the
What
dodo,
could go wrong?
and the Tasmanian tiger. I'm going to put in a request because I know that geneticists
They're cute.
They listen to the show, and I'm going to say, like, can you hold off on the Tasmanian tiger?
Yeah, stay with the mouse. Look how cute they are.
Oh my God, the chubby, the hairy mice.
Tell me that's not cute.
So we had the woolly mammoth is not yet here, but the woolly mouse is upon us.
Look how cute. I gotta say, Ted,
they moved up to like the woolly rabbit soon, and then we'll move to
one.
the woolly opossum.
Look how cute they are.
No, they're so cute.
But
you could just buy a mouse, Manila. There are mice.
No, but they're not this cute. Look how
there are
furry
cute mice.
They are.
There's a lot of different kinds of mice,
This one has like a big thick rat tail. But
you can get a rat.
Kind of like hamsters. No, I know they're really smart, and I don't think I want a rat. I think I want like cute.
My ex-wife had a pet rat when she was a kid, and she said it was an amazing pet. Like really like smart and just like really cute and loyal.
Yeah, but this is a prehistoric woolly rat.
That's true. That's probably a $1 billion rat or mouse.
Exactly. I want to. It's like, and I don't want a Louis Vuitton bag. I want to say I have a freaking designer, extinct creature as a pet.
Well, it's not an extinct creature. This never existed before. There was no such thing.
They never existed?
No. Woolly mice? No, I don't think so. This is an idea.
You don't think so?
No, woolly. Why would woolly? Not that we know. Maybe, but we don't know. I mean, this is what they're trying to do here. Is they're trying to create they're trying to say, let's do one step at a time.
They're beta testing. Is that what it is? They're beta testing for the woolly mammoth.
Yeah, we can't make. Of course, obviously it's a long way from woolly mouse to woolly mammoth. I don't have to explain why.
Well, yeah.
Tasmanian tiger, though. I mean, generally speaking, tigers are magnificent. But I generally feel like a world where there are fewer predators that view us as prey is a world that I enjoy more, so.
And things go extinct for a reason. Nature keeps its own balance.
Yeah, not really. Not with us. With us around. We kill everything.
Agreed. Barring the ones that we killed. But we did not kill a saber-toothed tiger. We didn't do that.
That's not a saber-toothed tiger. It's a Tasmanian tiger.
Whatever. We didn't kill it. Like,
well, are you an expert on the Tasmanian tiger? How do you know that?
I'm willing to bet that humans did not make that thing extinct. Is my point. So, but if they naturally
also known
died
as the
off,
Tasmanian, it's very strange. It's also known as the Tasmanian, wolf. So it died out in New Guinea and Australia about 3,400 years ago. Prior to the arrival of the Europeans, probably because of the introduction of the dingo, who's a dingo stole my baby.
Okay. All right.
Right. So,
all right. Yeah.
And the last one. Okay. So, yeah, we killed them. Beginning in the 19th century, they were perceived as a threat to the livestock of farmers, and bounty hunting was introduced. The last known specimen died in 1936 at a zoo in Tasmania in Australia. It is a cultural icon in Australia. People love the big stripes that it had that radiated from the top of its back. It's a very interesting looking animal. Both sexes had a pouch. I guess if you live in Australia, you have to have a pouch.
I wear a fanny pack. I have a pouch.
So you could be admitted to Australia. Okay. All right. And finally, while parade goers donned colorful beads and celebrated Mardi Gras in New Orleans and along the Gulf Coast, the British rang in something called Shrove Tuesday, which is something that you race with pancakes. Also known as Pancake Day, the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday sees about 50 million or more eggs get cracked for celebrations in the UK. There's 22 million more than usual. And yes, British egg prices are lower than ours. Shrove Tuesday is a Christian festival celebrated in a lot of countries around the world. It's the Tuesday before the beginning of Lent. That's the 6 weeks that lead up to Easter. During Lent, Christians are supposed to give up luxuries in order to remember when Jesus went into the desert for 40 days to fast and pray. The exact date of Shrove Tuesday changes every year due to the lunar calendar, but it's always exactly 47 days before Easter. and it's always on a Tuesday. The name comes from the old word shriving or shriving or whatever, which means to listen to someone's sins and forgive them. In Anglo-Saxon England, Christians would go to church on Shrove Tuesday to confess and clean their soul, and then they would be considered shriven. In the UK, Ireland, Australia, and Canadistan, aka soon to be the 51st state, Shrove Tuesday has another name, Pancake Day. Traditionally during Lent, Christians would give up rich, tasty foods like butter, eggs, sugar, and fat, and Shrove Tuesday was your last chance to load up on that stuff. So happy Shrove Tuesday. I guess it's over.
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah, I'm a bad Catholic, so I don't do anything. I say I'm
You're
Catholic
shroveless.
I'm very shroveless, but I will say this from having been a reporter for a long time, that the British have some weird like traditions, like not only racing with this pancake
You mean like
thing,
aside from Druidism?
yes, like they have something like I forget what it's called, but racing like by throwing your wife over your shoulder. Like you have to, I don't know, you have to. It's like a manly man competition, and they grab their wives, and you have to race with your wife over your shoulder. So I feel like that's kind of a nod to being like a brute, and you have to like go through the mud and go through these obstacle courses carrying your wife on your shoulder, and it's like only a British thing that they tried to propagate here in the US, and it just never really took off. But because I think Americans probably view that as very sexist, and you don't do that. And people were saying, well, you better hope you married a small woman, right?
Yes, indeed. Or that she became small by the time Shrove Tuesday rolls around, or whatever it is.
It's a weird, yeah. It's very strange. But
let's Jaws us. We've got JT waiting in the wings.
Yeah, we got JT. All right, let's do it.
A defiant victory lap in the House chamber last night, using his address to a joint session to promote the flurry of changes to domestic and foreign policy that he's made in his first 6 weeks. Delivering the longest address, an hour and 40 minutes in modern presidential history, he reprised many of the themes that animated his campaign, but really didn't have much to say about any new policies, which is usually what they do on these occasions. Trump claimed, "We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplish in 4 or 8 years, and we're just getting started." And don't forget also that he compared himself to George Washington, and George Washington, he said, was the second best president of the United States, after someone who we all know. One day after Trump suspended the delivery of aid to Ukraine, he said he's willing to change his mind. He said he appreciated that message he got from Zelensky, in which Zelensky said that he was ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Trump widened the trade wars. He instituted sweeping tariffs against Canada, Mexico, and China earlier in the week. The markets crashed, mini crash, I should say, in response to the actions. Trump said he doesn't care. He said it's a little disturbance, no big deal. He says more tariffs go into effect April 2nd. Within the first few minutes of the speech, Representative Al Green, who is not the soul singer, Democrat of Texas, stood up and started heckling the president. After Green ignored warnings from Speaker Mike Johnson, Johnson ordered the sergeant-at-arms to toss him from the chamber. Presidents usually use these joint session speeches to lay out their agendas, but Trump didn't do that. He didn't unveil anything new and devoted little time to the wars in Ukraine or Gaza. However, Trump has said that he plans to end both. He said he was going to do that within the first day. We're a little
Al
bit
Green's the woolly congressman, by the way.
We're a little bit beyond that. Joining us to talk about this is Jamarl Thomas, who has his own show at, I believe, is it 8 o'clock in the morning? Every
7 to 10.
7 to 10, harder working than we are.
It's the same hours as the Sputnik show.
Yep.
7 to 10 a.m.
And just like our show is in the same time slot as well.
And who knows, we might all be coming back if the sanctions go away, which is what we're being told might happen.
Vince Vaughn is saying it, but who knows?
Yeah.
JT, it's our reunion right now.
From his lips to God's ears. So yeah. Anyway, JT, thanks for coming on. Good to see you again. I was on
man?
with JT yesterday. So
Looking sharp.
You saw the. You saw
thank
the.
you.
You saw the Trump.
I knew I was going to be with Manila. That's so I was like, I gotta.
Yes.
I wore my.
I put on a headband.
Did you?
Like Zelensky, I wore my finest T-shirt. I left the Falcons logo
on my garbage man outfit.
Right. That's
By
right.
the way, one of the things that pissed Trump off was apparently he had given heads up saying, "We want you to dress up."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To Zelensky?
Yes.
Did they tell him that?
Apparently, they told him they wanted him to dress up. They didn't want him to come in the garbage man outfit, and he came in the garbage man outfit.
Oh, that's why Trump said something at the beginning.
Yes,
at the very beginning. Yeah, because he talked to him like he was talking to his retarded 13-year-old nephew. He's like, "Oh, look, he came dressed up. He's all dressed up." Like, and I was like, that's a weird way to greet somebody. So that makes sense.
But it definitely made he walks in and he's like, it's not, he didn't make the proper impression,
Yeah. You're coming to the White House. I mean, dude, you got to go dress up to go to court, or at the very least, like he's
That's
wearing.
true.
And
most people know the experience of showing up not having, prepared properly for an event. That's what happened here.
But I keep wondering to myself, what is in Zelensky's closet? Is it weirder to have like 50 of the garbage man outfits? Like where you just go and say, "Hey, what do you want to wear today?"
Like Zuckerberg.
Garbage outfit number 5. Or is it one?
Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day.
So did Obama. Obama had the same off-the-rack suit. He had like 20 of them.
But exactly. Steve Jobs wore the same combo with the black mock turtleneck and was it jeans? Like Levi's or something.
There's famous photos of Zuckerberg showing his closet. It's all the same T-shirts and and the same hoodies.
No, but there's a reason behind that. I actually read a whole article about it because somebody remember I used to work for a magazine and it was a men's lifestyle fashion magazine, and so I was in that world, and somebody had interviewed because Steve Jobs was still alive back then. Steve Jobs
always with the turtleneck for him.
The reason these guys wore the same outfits over and over was they believed that you were using precious brain power in trying to decide what you're going to wear.
Well, that's true.
So it's easier to just pick a fresh, clean, same shirt that you wore like yesterday, a fresh, clean version of it, fresh, clean version of those pants over and over and over, and you're not exerting any sort of additional.
I subscribe to this theory, by the way.
Do you, Ted? Do you?
I do. I have like a bunch of the same T-shirts, same jeans. I always dress the same way, and it's just sort of like, it's boring. I used to, have more effort when I was young, but
me too.
But I kind of feel like, who's seeing me anyway? And it's like it works. There's also a branding aspect to it when you have a visual aspect to your career.
And maybe that's Zelensky's brand.
That is
garbage can chic.
That's his look right there. He's got a coat on right here, giving the mea culpa speech to the press.
Well, he never apologized in that speech. He just did a U-turn saying, we'll, sign whatever off to Ukraine you want. It's regrettable that it happened. Okay, dude, Trump wants an apology. He wants,
right.
You got to eat some ass. You can't just kind of take that and, okay, it was regrettable. Sorry. That's not going to fly. I don't think that's going to fly.
It wasn't enough of an apology for sure. I don't think it was enough, because if it were, we wouldn't be getting the news this morning that we're stopping intelligence sharing with Ukraine.
I saw that. He is bending Zelensky to form. And look, Trump is a petty man, right? And you went to the White House, and on top of going to the White House, you got into a pissing match where Trump had to raise his voice to shout you down in order to give you this kind of intervention. That's astonishing. I've never seen anything like it. And people are like, "Oh, Trump ambushed him." No, he didn't. Zelensky came to that meeting. He didn't dress up in the way he was supposed to, meaning you came in opposition to what Trump wanted right off the bat. And knowing full well that the only responsibility you had was to sign that contract and shut up. And what makes it so bad, Lindsey Graham that morning was like, "I talked to Zelensky 9 times. I talked to him that morning. I told him to just shut up and sign the contract. And he didn't do that. He's not a good business partner." he knew what he was there for. It wasn't to relitigate anything. And yet he wanted to relitigate it. And in that speech, he says something else in that speech that you're showing in the background. He says something to the effect of, well, Russia hasn't given up on its wants. It still wants to cut down on our military, wants to do, keep the territories. Dude, that is already decided. Like, you have no power. You've lost the war. And it's almost like you lost the war and you have demands after losing the war. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's like, they're cutting down your military by shooting them in the face, one person after person after person. And it's like, they're taking more and more territory now as we speak. And whereas Trump is saying, let's stop that. Your thing is, let's keep fighting. Why?
Right.
Well, for what? Half of Ukrainians, the majority, want the war to stop. Literally, under Gallup's own polling. Most Americans want the war to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Under our own polling here in the United States. Trump wants the war to stop. The majority of the world wants the war to stop. And the only goofballs that want to keep going are liberals in America and in Europe. And that goofball right there.
Liberals have changed. They're
nuts.
They're so weird. I mean, it's like I expect them to break out into song like all we are saying is give war a chance. I mean, that's what they want, right? They're insane.
It's bizarre. It's one thing if you're winning. I mean, I still have some feelings about it, but you're not even winning. You're losing.
But JT, there are people saying that and I kind of agree with this assessment, because I have said many times that I don't think Donald Trump is a guy that takes any shit personally, right? He's just it's all transactional, and it's all like just it's all dollars and cents.
Takes stuff personally?
No, in terms of like diplomacy. I'm not saying personally.
Or negotiations.
Yes. Yeah. When he's dealing with foreign leaders or whatever, I don't think he thinks anything of you like, I don't like you, I don't hate you, I don't care. His relationship
just wants what
to
he
you,
wants.
right? His relationship to you as a other world leader somewhere else, whatever head of state you are. I think he views you as it's a transactional relationship. You ain't my best friend. I ain't going to bed with you. Don't care. Just I want what I want.
Right.
And so when Zelensky rolled up like that, and now he's tucking tail, I think Trump, I think at the end of the day, actually does want to get to a place of peace, because I think he is thinking about his legacy. I think that's the only reason that he even cares about peace, and that he views Zelensky as a loser, and he doesn't want to be affiliated with a loser and put good money after bad.
I think I agree with that, kind of. So I do think there are people who Trump like and dislike. Like, meaning, like you pointed out, like Zelensky is a loser. He is a beggar. He's an international panhandler. And for all intents and purposes, the idea that he's being this tough guy while simultaneously being completely dependent upon the United States, I would imagine Trump looks at that and said, this is ridiculous. like, are you seriously sitting here talking to me like this when you are completely dependent and reliant upon the largesse of the United States? So I think there's that part. The other part, I think it goes beyond Ukraine for Trump into this notion of protecting the dollar. And what I mean by that is, when we decided to weaponize the dollar in the way that Joe Biden was weaponizing it, we're going to pass sanctions. We're going to take Russia off the SWIFT system. We're going to do all of this stuff. We're going to go after oil and gas. We're going to do all this. And Russia says, fair enough. A, we're still going to sell a product. But B, we need to mitigate the weapon that the United States is using. And Putin has made this very explicit. I remember in a speech he gave, he pointed out the U.S. spent $10 trillion just out of thin air in Iraq and in Afghanistan. They just made it up. It was money that you just created. There was no consequences for them doing so. We just made money out of thin air. And if you think about it, if you can make $10 trillion, think of what that buys, think of what that commands, think of how many people you can muster to whatever plan that you want, whether it's good or bad. Putin was like, okay, that's outrageous. And now that they're going after us, we need to find ways to get around that. I know, let's get off the dollar, and let's get a bunch of other major economies around the world to get off the dollar with us. So instead of using dollar for these transactions, we are going to use something else. Whatever that something else is, we don't care. It's not going to be the dollar. And you can imagine that if you have, 70% at one point, and now you're down to 50% in regards to the usage of the dollar, That's a big deal, especially if you're the U.S. with $36 trillion in debt, soon to go much higher than that. I think Trump looks at it and says, we need to stop that process. And one of the ways of stopping that process is getting rid of the sanctions, making the dollar liquid again, where these countries, where it's not being used as a weapon. Russia being one of the main predominant players that was pushing for the de-dollarization. If we can make amends with them, maybe Russia chills out with the de-dollarization. Meaning, I do think he's looking at it in a larger context that this is not good for us. This is detrimental to the U.S. if things like BRICS goes forward. I mean, BRICS represents more than half of the globe. And so it's like, okay, what happens if Russia, China, India, Brazil just came out recently saying we need to find a way to not use the dollar. Okay, what happens when you get a larger percentage of transactions not taking place in the dollar? What happens when the U.S. gets saddled with 37, 38, $50 trillion in debt? And now we're no longer the reserve currency where we can leverage all of the other countries around the world for it. That's a big deal. Democrats pay no mind to it for some reason. Trump seems to be uniquely focused on it and saying, we need to stop that. This is not good for us. This is not good for our interests. We need to get rid of these sanctions. So it's like, I don't know if he all that much cares about Ukraine. I think there's an element to it of Trump's bias is why are we having these wars? I think that's true. But I think he's also looking at it from a larger economic, geopolitical standpoint. And he's like, this is not good for us. I mean, I could be totally wrong on this. Yeah. Maybe I'm giving
I think that's all true. I would also add, I do think Trump has a visceral dislike of war. Yeah. He just thinks it's wasteful. You can tell he feels emotionally about it. You know, I mean,
about the
Trump
money,
a raging asshole. Yeah, you saw that on full display last night, and we need to talk about that. But I really seriously think it hurts his brain, the idea that people like fight unnecessary wars, and he wants to end them.
Yeah. It's a waste of money. And I think obviously waste of money, waste of lives. I think he views the lives being wasted on the battlefield as lives that could be in some factory somewhere working for, making Trump
also,
ties.
Those poor innocent buildings getting blown up.
Yes, those poor innocent structures that could be rehabilitated
and get the permits
for factories.
I think that's what he sees. But let's talk the last 15 minutes about last night in particular. Yes. Ted, we talked before the show, and Ted took this way more to heart than I did. Trump's whole thing. I just figured, I looked at this last night and I saw this is par for the course. I was a little bit shocked that he didn't address the Ukraine topic until towards the end. Yeah. Like a full, hour and a half into like the last
burying the lead.
He totally buried the lead. I thought there was a chance he might surprise everybody because he was teasing on Truth Social that he was going to announce something huge. And I thought maybe it was going to be he was going to drop NATO. That would be like, boom, mic drop.
He didn't announce anything huge.
He didn't do anything. There was nothing. Yeah. So to me, this was just blah, par for the course. Ted, give Jamarl your summary.
Yeah, that was true. I mean, I'm sorry, Ted, please, I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, for me, I just want to say, so for me, it was context. It was, okay, so I totally agree with Manila, I mean, in that it was par for the course. But the difference is, this was effectively a State of the Union address.
That's what it sounds like.
It's a joint session of Congress. This is in lieu of a State of the Union address. This is effectively this year's State of the Union address. And so when presidents traditionally have called the House and the Senate to come in and hear what they have to say, it's to say, I have an agenda. Here's what I'd like to do, and I need your help, and I'd like to argue for your help to help me achieve it, and here's why we should do it. It's a call to action. It's a call to arms. Here, it's like, okay, so it's like, people showed up for this expecting that. And in fact, all he does is give a cut and paste campaign. The New York Times described it very well. They said it was a campaign rally in Congress. Well, okay, that to me was shocking that he blew this opportunity. It was boring. It was generic. It is kind of like, here it's like having a wedding and you call everyone to the wedding and there's no music and there's no food and there's no open bar and then like some other couple that you don't even know is getting married. And you're like, why am I fucking here? And it's like, that's how I felt. I was kind of angry. I was like, I'm an hour 40 minutes closer to death. And what do I have to show for it? Nothing. It's like it's like watching any number of the films that were up for the Oscars this year. Everything's boring and not entertaining. It's like, so to me, that's what pissed me off. I was like, and it wasn't so much, I'm not really blaming Trump. I'm really blaming his enablers in both parties. The idiot Republicans who, clap like morons, like at a high school pep rally for the football game, and the idiot like wimpy little Democrats with their auction paddles like they're at Sotheby's trying to buy a Banksy picture. I mean, it was like the whole circus. I was like, here's my problem. I was like, this is idiocracy. It's like we have achieved, like, the people who are in the halls of Congress who run our country, to a man and to a woman, they're all stupid. Like, all of them. All of them. Mike Johnson's stupid. The lady with the purple hair is stupid. Trump is stupid. Vance is playing stupid. I mean, everyone's stupid or acting stupid. And I'm like, what? Like, I just think next year Democrats should just never show up again. It's just a waste of time. It's not even to make a statement. It's just like, why come to this event? There's no reason to be here. We just get insulted, right? Like, this is like, it's dumb. It's like, there's a lot of things. It reminds me of, like, I used to get in trouble a lot, shocking, in high school. And the penalty, they had gotten rid of suspension. So you had Saturday school. So they'd be like, Rall, because of that cartoon you put in the paper, 1 Saturday school. And so then I'm like, well, what's the penalty for not showing up for Saturday school? 2 Saturday schools. And I'm like, well, what's the penalty for not showing up for 2 Saturday schools? 4. I'm like, so I just never went to Saturday school. I ended up owing like 256 Saturday schools. So it's like this. Just don't show up. I don't even know why we participate. It was like, I don't know why anyone watches this will ever want to watch one of these speeches again. It just it pissed me off because as an American, I want to be entertained, and I was not entertained.
I agree with every word, syllable, consonant that has just come out of your mouth.
Thank you.
I did not understand this. I was sitting there. I woke up late. I think it was like at 12, and I decided, okay, well, I'll have chestnut, and I'll just listen to it in the background.
Yeah, but there's what's her face kind of dressed like a little bimbo-y for this event.
Hey! Don't be talking about my my dark dreams there.
You and Jamarl with these crazy.
It's Lauren Boebert.
Lauren Boebert.
Look
at her. She's dressed like she's out for the club.
Very guilty. I'm very guilty.
Was the one that gave the guy a hand job in the theater,
which is kind of
like, whoa. Right.
Yeah,
that's how she's dressed.
Every guy wants to date a girl like that. They say they don't, but they do.
Oh, what do they say? They say they don't, but they do. Oh,
look,
man,
you might not want to marry her, but then you might want to marry her. Who knows?
No, she will cut your junk off. She will cut your junk off after she does that favor for you.
Also, I don't know.
Cut it off.
Also, he was playing with her boobs too.
Yeah,
oh,
I mean, they were
going
at it in the movie theater. I mean, look, I have been known to touch somebody inappropriately in a bookstore.
Oh my God!
But it was consensual, right? It's like you push somebody up.
I've had sex on the subway. Here, we're coming it up. Yeah, it was great.
But I am not a member of Congress. Right?
Fair point.
It's the issue of being a member of Congress. That's the shocking part.
That's true.
No, Ted, I agree with you on this. It was boring. The only part that was entertaining was him saying he was going to take Greenland, whether they want to or not, which was weird. He was like, he says, we believe in the right of self-determination for Greenland. However, we're going to get them either way, like either one way or the other.
It's like the Blondie song, one way or another.
Well, another, we're going to get you, we're going to get you, we're going to get you. So he effectively said, we're going to steal Greenland. He put out that we're going to get the Panama Canal. Apparently, Hong Kong investors, 90%, they're going to sell 90% of their stake. Mm-hmm. And also, when he ribbed the Democrats for clapping for war, where he was like, we're going to, we funded the Ukraine war. And Democrats like, yeah, we funded the Ukraine war.
Yeah.
And he was like, you guys are funded for another 5 years, right? And they, there was a little sparse applause. He was like, there, yeah, Pocahontas, she's into it. And they start laughing. And Elizabeth Warren was like, oh, okay, motherfucker, that's not funny, but I'm going to pretend like it is. Otherwise,
at that point, by the way, if there was a single penis in the entire hall on the Democratic side, they should have all gotten up and walked. Like, you directly insulted with a racial slur a sitting United States senator and our colleague.
Yep.
They should have all stood up as one and said, "Fuck you," and walked out.
But they didn't do that.
I'm
they
serious.
stood there, and Elizabeth Warren sat there humiliated, just kind of applauding.
Yeah.
She kept clapping for the war. She's like,
she kept clapping
damn
for the war.
straight,
Yeah.
I want the war. Hell yeah, I
And by the
want
way,
more war.
Sanders came out as a warmonger.
Oh my God.
He is
that social media memo that he sent out, the press release. Holy crap, 2 pages.
It's insane.
It was like literally could have been written by Dick Cheney.
Yes.
And yeah.
It was insane. It's like for whatever particular reason, they decided.
It was basically like Trump is Putin's bitch was the subject.
I will tell you, I don't care if it's Satan himself. If he is willing to end all of these hundreds of thousands of people dying for a stupid, senseless war, God bless him. As I was telling my mom,
please turn your attention to Sudan next,
Yes, exactly. And as I was telling my mom, I was like, there's sometimes where the bad guy is the best person in the world to do a good thing because he's the bad guy. He doesn't give a shit. And so when he's like functioning in your direction, you're like, love that guy. Like if you're watching Vampire Diaries and Damon is working with Steph on something, to go after somebody. Yes, good job, Damon. But when Damon is sexually assaulting Caroline, he's like, okay, that's kind of gross. Stop doing that. Like, it's a bad guy doing a good thing. And I appreciate the bad guy doing a good thing.
Yeah, it's like The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Tony does some nice things, some good things.
Yeah. It's like you applaud him for that. I guess my thing is liberals have lost their minds. It's almost as if because it's Trump, by definition, whatever he does, it's negative, even if it's stopping hundreds of thousands of people from being slaughtered. And again, like they have not come up with an alternative. Like Vance was pointing out that the Biden administration was like, well, we'll just keep throwing money at it and maybe something changes. Okay, that's not a plan. That's not a plan. That's the reason the German government collapsed. They act Schultz. Okay, so what do you have in mind in regards to the war? I mean, we can't just keep throwing money at it. And he's like, we're just going to keep throwing money at it. It's like, no, we're not. Government collapses. Like,
but let's get back to the stupidity angle too.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to also say about so this is where I realized so people always say Trump's funny, right? But he kept blowing opportunities even as an entertainer. Like, for example, his best moment was when he's reading that William Proxmire list of supposedly wasteful government programs.
Yes.
And for example, when he mentions the sedentary migrants, and he says, I don't even know what that is. I'm like,
I don't even know.
No. I'm like yelling at the TV. You should tell the joke. You should be like, you guys need to make up your mind. Are you sedentary or are you migrants?
Yeah,
or are you migrating? I said the same thing.
If you were more sedentary, it wouldn't be a problem.
No,
it's the migrant part that we have a problem with.
It's the migration part.
You could riff on it and do
this was not a funny.
Just wiggle a little bit or whatever.
And as well, his campaign rallies are usually funnier. Like when he's doing his campaign stump speech, I got to be honest, even though some of that stuff is detestable, it is hilarious. It is super entertaining, even if you don't like Trump. This wasn't entertaining at all. And look, I get it, right?
I think he just didn't know his you didn't know his audience, right? I mean, he did know his audience. And I thought the most effective was when he talked to the Democrats. But again, he screwed that up. He could have said, like, hey guys, Operation Warp Speed. I saved you guys. You're some of you old fucks who'd be dead if not for my vaccines.
That would be so funny.
And when he said there's nothing I could do that would make you plot. Again, he blew the line, right? He didn't say if I had Jesus himself and come down here and endorse me, you'd boo him, right? It's like if I cured cancer personally, you boo me. There's nothing I can do, right? You guys are all assholes. That would be great, but he couldn't make
cancer.
any
You
of
wouldn't even use the drug.
Most noticeable to me, and well, Ted, you were a former Catholic. Most noticeable to me was how often they were up and down, this is like a Catholic mass. Like it was so much standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down, and I was going, Oh my God, my knees feel it for all
Yeah,
these
it's like
people
Pilates.
that are 100 years old that are. I'm like,
Yeah, I know,
wow.
right? All these people like in their 90s. Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, that part was interesting. When he turns to Democrats, it's like, there's nothing I can do that you'd clap. And he has a point.
Yeah, but he
Like,
didn't
it's
make
an
it. He couldn't get
interesting
it to land, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
He does
taking
have a
it
point.
away from a joke for the moment,
Mm.
there is something to be said about, like, you guys hate me so much that even if I do something good, you won't applaud it. And I think for Trump, ending the war is good. Like, I think
Yeah.
I think for him, it's a cosmic good that they don't acknowledge. It's like, nothing that I do, you would applaud.
Yeah, or he could have asked, right? He could have done the interactive thing, like, "Hey guys, is there anything I could do to make one of you assholes stand up?" Right?
And the answer would be no.
Yeah.
Right.
The answer would be no.
Not clapping for a cancer a little kid that's a cancer survivor. Couldn't even clap for that. A young teenage boy who just got into West Point. His dad was killed in the line of duty as a LA County sheriff's.
Mhm.
Couldn't clap for that. They wouldn't clap for anything. It was just too partisan. There was just no like.
Although that's, I mean, in fairness, that's not all their fault. It's both sides. I mean, come on,
both
Trump's
bad.
Trump comes on there. Look, it's Trump's a sore winner. He comes on there. It's like, you just won, dude. The world is coming up Millhouse for you, right? Everything's great. You know, you dodged all your problems. You won. You control everything. You have all these like triumphs. Everything's rocking for you. Like, be a little gracious.
So,
you know?
So what is, guys, as we wrap this up, what was the takeaway of Trump's Golden Age of America plan? This speech was supposed to be the plan.
Real quick, would you guys have applauded the cancer kid?
Yeah, of course.
I did. I was at home going, "Oh, little boy!" Like,
see, I hate stuff like that because I know that it's politically manipulative. They're using the cancer kid as a prop. I hate that. I don't
want
the
fact that the kid is there. But the fact that the kid is there and he can see adults like ignoring him and not looking at him,
girl,
like, that's sad.
The mom of the she was
Laken Riley.
Yeah, she was very Laken Riley's mom. Obviously, was very pro what Trump was saying. She was applauding enthusiastically, but even so, these moments are so cringe.
They are. I mean, I hate stuff like that. When I saw that cancer kid, and then MSNBC, of course, goes off the reservation by attacking the kid or something like that, like Rachel Maddow did. Cole Wallace, yeah.
I did again. I think Trump missed a chance to say, like, I think he would have done a better chance defending me in Pennsylvania than the guys who were there.
Oh. Well, look there. So I thought everything he said yesterday, there was no plan. I didn't hear a plan of action. No. It was more of rattling off what he's done in the last 43 days. Right. But no plan moving forward.
And also a lot of grandiose bullshit, like, I'm the best president. Everyone says I'm the best president.
I'm better than Washington.
George Washington's number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of like,
I didn't hear a plan. Though.
You're a maniac. Did you guys hear? Saying that in a joint session of Congress. Like, sorry.
Was there any plan? Did I miss it?
I didn't hear a plan. No, it was just him rattling all stuff that he did for the last like him tooting his own horn. I did this. I did that. I did this. We've been super active. And to his credit,
everyone says it's the best. No one's ever seen anything like this. It's so great. I mean, it's very tedious.
To be fair, he has been hyperactive.
Oh yeah.
But the greatest president since George Washington, he's out of his mind. He's out of his mind.
Better than George Washington.
Yeah, nobody elected Trump to go after Medicaid. Nobody elected Trump to fire all these federal workers. Nobody elected. And then there's this part in the speech where he says,
the Social Security thing, what a pile of shit. Not one of that. That's all lies, right?
Yes.
Like, they found this list of, like, basically because they were never able to confirm that all these people had died, of people who are supposedly 150 years old. But none of them, not a single penny of U.S. tax dollars has ever gone to any of these dead people, right?
Exactly.
So it's a lie. It's just basically a dumb record-keeping glitch. It's not really true that Social Security is being, fraudulently paid to people who shouldn't be getting it.
It's like the voter rolls, right? Like dead people on the voter rolls. It doesn't mean anybody's showing up to vote in their place. It's just they're dead people still on the voter
But
roll.
my complaint here is the Democrats couldn't even start yelling about that. You know?
I mean, they have not been able to. Hakeem Jeffries is trash. He put out a report
Worthless.
effectively saying, hey, be very muted about in your response to Donald Trump, which pissed off other Democrats. I think, Mark Pocan apparently flipped out. So, he's effing angry for his constituents and everything else. How can you not create a substantive argument about somebody who's destroying Medicaid, Social Security, and Medicare? And it is that argument about waste is used to destroy Social Security. That's the entire point. Hey, this doesn't work. We need to privatize it. That's going to be the argument that is effectively going to be made. Him going after Medicaid, same thing. They're gutting the government, especially these programs that people like. Okay, the Democratic Party, you would think that would be an easy pivot point. Them, rolling grandma off the cliff and those type of things. They can't even come up with a substantive case for that. Like, it's just weird. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, and that's why Trump is going to steamroll the next 4 years and do whatever the hell it is that comes through his orange brain, and nobody's going to stop him because we say it's a duopoly, and yeah, we can describe it that way, fine, but really it's not even, there isn't even an opposing side. There is no opposition at this
That's
point.
Exactly
it's
non-existent.
My point. Non-existent.
Jeffries needs to resign.
Whatever this dude is going to do,
he's so impotent.
He's going to do.
Producer Robbie was on before the show. We were all talking about this. He had a different take, a very diametrically opposed take to mine. He thought that the speech was frightening. And
here, I'll pop him on.
Yeah,
he's
sorry, Robbie.
Frightening.
No, very much so. Hey, JT, just real quick, I want to just say, brother, it's good to hear your voice again.
Oh, thanks, my man. I appreciate it. Thank you for that.
No, hey,
so you thought it was frightening. I mean, don't get me wrong.
As a right winger, yes.
Like executing people who kill cops, the going after campuses. Like that's
it's not, brothers. It's not that y'all are missing it. Trump, what this is all about, this is about him going for the worker class in the midterms. This is about him strengthening his faction.
Oh, I see.
So the part that people are missing here, for one thing, he talked about all the executive orders that he's been signing like he's a king.
Mm-hmm.
There's pure silence from Congress. Basically, what he's telling Congress to their face is that you're obsolete. I don't need you. I will do as I will, and you will be a little bitch, and you will take it. And great. Okay. No, what Trump is doing, he's going after the forgotten workers. He's going after the working class. There's a reason why he was talking about no tax on overtime. There's a reason why he's talking about. There's a reason why he's talking about no tax on tips. There's a reason why he's talking about making it where if you have a car loan, you get the interest back, as a tax write-off. Yeah. Because car loans are just killing people, who work in the middle of the country.
But see, as a lefty, I like that stuff.
I do too. And that's where the Republicans and the Democrats, the corporate types, are completely missing this, JT. He is going after the people that both political parties have been saying, not only do I not want to hear you, but I hate you for decades. He's going after them. Well, I agree.
I'm glad he is. Good.
But here's the scary part of it. Once he gets in, if he's able to increase in the midterms by going through and do this, I mean, who doesn't want to have more shipbuilding? If you have shipbuilding here in the country, you start revitalizing the Rust Belt. Yep. U.S. Steel, that problem goes away because Americans are making steel. Jobs are coming back. My question is, why is Trump pushing this tariff war? This is why. What he is doing is that he's trying to build a coalition of the populist right and the left to enhance the power of the executive. And Congress, they're too impotent or they're too stupid to understand what he is doing. That's how I'm taking this.
I agree with you. I think it feels like he's splitting the opposition. And what I mean by that is
100%.
under normal circumstances, it's lefties who are anti-war. It's lefties who want to end war and those type of things.
And that was the righties.
He's just taking it. I mean, he's like, this is my mantle. This is who I am. This is what I want to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, yesterday, Manila and I were talking about this, and I wanted to sort of stretch it out. I mean, I came up with this theory sort of on the fly that I kind of have thought more about, and I think I'm going to double down on it. That basically what's happened with this realignment, and we don't have much time left, but this realignment between on foreign policy, where the Democrats are now to the right of Republicans on foreign policy and interventionism. I think what happened here is that it starts with the Tea Party rise in 2009, 2010 under Obama, and the takeover of the Republican Party by the populist former Pat Buchanan isolationist wing of the party that morphed into MAGA Donald Trump. And in that transition over about 15 years, so Democrats kind of, basically the Republicans ceded the territory of being the military and the rabid interventionists, and they ended up becoming less attractive to the big defense military industrial complex donors that had been feeding money to, like, you know, Bush, Cheney and all that, and Reagan, and like, then they're like, oh, okay, well, and so the Democrats are like, maybe we can get that money and we can attach ourselves to the warmongering industry. And then that's how, so the Republicans left that behind, and the Democrats found it on the floor and picked it up and decided to run with it. I think that's what happened.
These are the people always screaming about their values. If you have values, those things aren't necessarily just
they don't have values.
Yeah, they don't have values. They're purely relative to whatever Trump is, which is aggravating.
They're not a movement, they're a party, and parties don't have values. Parties are only loyalty to themselves, to their continued power.
And that's what Trump is.
I don't know if that's entirely true. I mean, like, what is a party if it's not a series of ideas? Like, I give you a perfect example. New Deal Democrats. And how third-way Democrats, oh God, I don't want to get into this fight with you because you're gonna know more about this stuff than I do. But New Deal Democrats got rid of, third-way Democrats got rid of New Deal Democrats. New Deal Democrats had a body of ideas that was.
That's confirming my point.
But there was a brain trust, and there's a brain trust there now that they are trying to defend. If you think of like the Clintons, the Obamas, when Bill Clinton went to Tom Perez and says, "Don't let Bernie Sanders take the party." Okay, well, why not? If parties are just purely relative things, then why wouldn't they want?
Because it exactly confirms my point. Like when I grew up, my mom said, "Oh, the Democrats are the party of the working man and woman, Joe and Jane six-pack. Republicans are the party for the rich." Then Bill Clinton comes along, and Jimmy Carter started this. But like basically, it really reaches full bloom in the 90s under the Clintons. And it's like, okay, well, we're ditching all that. We don't care about Jane and Joe six-pack anymore. We're going for the big corporate donations. The point is, it's about power. It's about self-perpetuation. It's not about ideas. If you're a set of ideas, you want to be outside of a political party. And if you're, let's say you're, Earth First. There's no world in which Earth First is going to stop caring about the environment. Okay, because there's no point to them otherwise. But if, let's say you had the Green Party somehow became, let's say Jill Stein became president and the Green Party comes to power. Over the course of decades, the Green Party could end up being like, fuck the environment. And they could morph into something completely different.
Yeah, but that's over decades. I'm talking about like everything changes. Like there's
this has taken decades. Like, keep in mind, I live in the middle of the country. Okay, I live in the part of the country, but that both Democrats and establishment Republicans, Ted, to your point, it's not that the ruling elite ignore Middle America. It's that they actively hate us. We have spent the last 6 years being called Nazis, racists, spies, Russian propagandists, stooges, deplorables, trash. And people here in the middle of the country, we're like, it's like, I can't pay my rent or my utilities. Something's got to give. I can't go and buy eggs. The cost of everything is falling apart. We keep electing these clowns to Washington, D.C. to go fix problems. They never fix anything. Immigration is wrecking us. We're sending all these resources overseas. Meanwhile, Gary, Indiana is dead. Kalispell, Montana, where I am, is being hollowed out. Columbia Falls is gone. The aluminum plant's dead. And then you have Trump who comes in and says, hey, all you people, you millions of people, I hear you.
Yeah.
It's not,
that is exactly
it's just the fact that he's saying, yeah, I can fix it. We don't even know if he can fix it or not. The point is that he's saying, I hear you.
And by the way, the terror war is trying to do
We got to make that the last word for you, JT.
I'm sorry.
We got to go. No, you go ahead. You go ahead with that last word, and then we got to wrap.
I mean, part of what he's trying to do with the tariff war is effectively saying, I'm trying to bring jobs back. If, I'm going to put a 15, 20, 30% tariff in order to encourage a factory to come back to, with American jobs. I have no idea if that's going to work. I am super skeptical that that's going to work, especially after like 50 years of globalism where this has just become entrenched. But to your point, he is making that pitch to the working class. I mean, I think he's undercutting his pitch by going after Medicaid, Social Security, et cetera, because those, those people have those things too. But he is making that pitch. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think, and it's smart. Love or hate Trump, that's a smart move.
JT, brother, it's good to see you again. Really,
Thanks,
truly,
man.
it is. It's an honor.
Honor. Come on.
Thank you, Robbie.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna leave that there. Jamarl Thomas, of course, our old buddy, our Sputnik alumni team right here. Check out his daily bands back together. Check out his daily podcast. You're on 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Jamarl Thomas, YouTube.
That's it. Just look up his name. I'll put his name back up on there. If people don't know how to spell it, there it is. Jamarl Thomas.
Jamarl. I assume you know how to spell Thomas.
Yes, the traditional way of Thomas. Thank you so much, JT. We'll have to do this again because now we got all our ducks in a row.
Anytime you want me.
It's always fun to have you. Thank you, JT. Go check out his channel. All right. Thanks, JT. Adios, amigo. Okay, and that's going to do it for us as well. I got to go pack for Icelandia.
Have fun.
Yeah, so it'll be the TRI show for the next few days, and I'll be back
as of mañana.
Next Wednesday. Yes, I'm back next Wednesday, back on air with Ted next Wednesday. So please, guys, remember to like and subscribe to the show.
Say hi to the vagrant polar bears.
That's true. Oh boy, geez, I hope I don't see one. I want to go see a glacier. That's for sure. I hope I'm not surprised by.
Don't fall in
polar bear.
Glacier walking is dangerous, so you have to be really careful. I've done it. You can do it. I'm still here, but it's like you have to, watch what you do.
Huh?
Like when the worst part is you see all this snow, and you're like, you can't just think that the snow is solid,
or that there's anything under it.
There may be nothing underneath. It might be like 6 inches, God! And then it's 500 feet down. So you gotta like sort of put your foot forward, feel around, make sure there's something there before you put your weight on there. Or better yet, let someone go in front of you who you don't really care about.
Like the tour guide. That's what he's paid for.
Your heavy, obese tour guide.
That's what they're paid for.
The heavier, the better. If you see Chris Christie there, you just go behind him.
Go with that guy, because that means it's safe. If he can walk on it, I can walk on it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the rule. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Ted and Robbie will take over the helm tomorrow, and then we'll be back. I'll be back next week. Adios, amigos.
Have a great trip, Manila.
Thank you, guys. I'll keep you posted on safety. Bye.
Bye-bye.